welcome to our comprehensive guide on growing carrots successfully. Now, carrots are one of those vegetables that people often think will be tricky to grow, but I can assure you, with a little bit of understanding and a good dose of patience, you'll have a bumper crop in no time. From selecting the right variety for your garden, and we'll delve into some of my personal favorites a little later, to understanding the soil conditions that carrots thrive in, we're going to cover it all. And of course, I'll be sharing some tried and tested tips I've picked up over the years, because gardening, as you know, is all about passing on that knowledge. So grab yourself a cuppa, settle in, and let's get started on the rewarding journey of growing your own delicious carrots. Now, before we even think about soil or seeds, we need to talk about the star of the show, the carrot itself. There's a surprising amount of variety in the carrot world, and choosing the right one can make all the difference. If you're after a classic all-rounder, you can't go wrong with Nanti. These beauties are cylindrical, beautifully sweet, and do well in most soils. For those of you blessed with deep, loose soil, Imperator carrots with their long, slender roots are a real treat. And got heavier soil? Don't despair. Chantenay carrots are short and stout, perfectly adapted to those conditions. And for those gardens with less than ideal soil, Danvers carrots with their tapered roots are remarkably tolerant. Remember, choosing the right variety for your garden is the first step to success. So have a good look at the seed packets, do a bit of research, and choose the carrot that speaks to you. Carrots, you see, are a bit like fussy house guests. They like things just so, and top of their list is loose, well-drained soil. Think of it as their comfy bed, free of lumps and bumps. Now, you want to aim for a soil that's sandy or loamy, and crucially, free of rocks and stones. Those can cause your carrots to fork, and nobody wants a wonky carrot, do they? The ideal pH for carrots is slightly acidic, somewhere between 6.0 and 6.8. And to give them a good start, dig in plenty of well-rotted compost or manure. But avoid fresh manure, as that can lead to those dreaded forked roots. Finally, and this is particularly important for those longer varieties, make sure you till the soil to a good depth, at least 12 to 16 inches. This gives those roots plenty of room to grow long and strong. Timing is everything, as they say, and that's certainly true when it comes to sowing carrot seeds. Carrots, you see, are cool weather lovers. They much prefer the crisp air of spring and autumn. If you're planting in spring, aim to sow your seeds 2 to 3 weeks before the last frost date. For an autumn harvest, sow about 10 to 12 weeks before the first frost. Now here's a little tip: carrots are best sown directly into the ground. They're not keen on having their roots disturbed, so transplanting is best avoided. When it comes to sowing, space your rows about 12 to 18 inches apart, and sow those tiny seeds thinly, about 1/4 inch deep and 1 to 2 inches apart. Cover them lightly with soil and water them in gently. Now comes the hard part: waiting. Carrot seeds, I'm afraid, are not known for their speed. They can take anywhere from 7 to 21 days to germinate, sometimes even longer depending on the variety and the weather. The key here is patience and keeping that soil consistently moist. Not waterlogged, mind you, just nicely damp. A good layer of mulch, like compost or even just some straw, can work wonders here. It helps retain moisture, keeps the soil temperature consistent, and prevents it from crusting over, which can hinder those delicate seedlings from pushing through. So be patient, keep the faith, and before you know it, you'll start to see those tiny green shoots emerging from the soil. And once your carrot seedlings reach 1 inch or 2 tall, it's time for a bit of judicious thinning. This might seem harsh, but trust me, it's for their own good. Overcrowding is a recipe for stunted growth, and we want our carrots to have plenty of space to reach their full potential, don't we? So, thin out those seedlings, leaving the strongest ones about 2 to 3 inches apart. Now, I know it seems a shame to discard those thinnings, but don't despair. They're perfectly edible and make a delicious addition to salads. Thinning not only gives your remaining carrots more space, but it also improves air circulation, which helps prevent diseases. Now, carrots, despite their tough exterior, are rather thirsty plants. They need a consistent supply of moisture, especially during dry spells. But, and this is important, they don't like to be waterlogged. Think of it like this: you want the soil to be damp, like a squeezed-out sponge, not sopping wet. A good deep watering once a week is usually sufficient, aiming for about an inch or two of water. Watering deeply encourages those roots to grow downwards, searching for moisture, which in turn helps prevent those pesky forked carrots. And a little tip, try to water early in the morning to give the leaves time to dry off before nightfall, as this can help prevent fungal diseases. Now, when it comes to feeding your carrots, it's best to take a less is more approach. They're not particularly heavy feeders, and too much nitrogen can actually do more harm than good. Excess nitrogen promotes leafy top growth at the expense of the roots, and we all know which part we're after, don't we? If you've prepared your soil well with compost or manure, your carrots may not need any additional feeding at all. However, if you do feel they need a boost, a light application of a balanced fertilizer, something like a 5-10-10 midway through the growing season, is usually sufficient. Alternatively, you can side dress with compost, which will slowly release nutrients as the carrots grow. Now, no gardener enjoys talking about pests and diseases, but it's an unfortunate reality of gardening life. However, don't despair. There are things we can do to keep our carrots healthy and pest-free. One of the most common carrot pests is the carrot rust fly. These pesky critters lay their eggs in the soil and their larvae then munch on the developing carrots. The good news is we can outsmart them. Using row covers, a lightweight, breathable fabric creates a barrier that prevents the flies from laying their eggs. Aphids, those tiny sap-sucking insects, can also be a nuisance. But fear not. A good blast of water from the hose can often dislodge them, or you can use insecticidal soap for a more targeted approach. When it comes to diseases, prevention is always better than cure. Rotating your crops each year helps to break the disease cycle and reduces the likelihood of problems. Harvest time. This is what we've all been waiting for, the culmination of all our hard work. But how do you know when those carrots are ready to be pulled from the earth? Well, most carrot varieties take around 60 to 80 days to mature, but it's always best to check the seed packet for specific timings. You can also gauge their readiness by gently brushing away the soil at the top of the root. If the carrot is about an inch in diameter, it's probably ready. To harvest, loosen the soil around the carrots with a fork to avoid breaking those precious roots. Then gently pull them upwards, gripping them from the base of the leaves. And there you have it, a basket full of freshly harvested, homegrown carrots. Now that you've harvested your bounty, you'll want to store those carrots properly to enjoy them for weeks to come. First things first, remove the leafy tops. Those tops will draw moisture away from the roots, causing them to wilt faster. Don't throw those tops away though. They're delicious in salads or soups. Carrots store best in a cool, humid environment. Root cellar is ideal, but if you don't have one, don't worry. You can store them in a perforated plastic bag in the crisper drawer of your refrigerator. Another method is to store them in damp sand. This helps maintain the moisture levels and keeps them crisp. Simply layer your carrots in a box, alternating with layers of slightly damp sand. Now, even with the best intentions, sometimes things don't go quite to plan in the garden. But fear not, every gardening challenge is an opportunity to learn and adapt. One common problem gardeners encounter is forked roots. Those are caused by compacted soil, rocks, or even too much nitrogen. The solution? Ensure your soil is loose and well drained, remove any obstacles, and go easy on the fertilizer. Stunted growth is another issue, often a sign of overcrowding or poor soil. Thin your seedlings diligently and make sure your soil is rich in organic matter. If you notice your carrots have a bitter taste, it could be due to a lack of water or fluctuating temperatures. Aim for consistent watering and consider using mulch to regulate soil temperature. So there you have it, everything you need to know to grow your own delicious, healthy carrots. By following these steps, you'll be well on your way to a bumper crop. Remember, gardening is all about experimentation and learning as you go. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, make mistakes and try new things. And if you have any questions or need help with specific aspects like pest control or soil preparation, don't hesitate to reach out in the comments below. Happy gardening!